Hello, everyone. You're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. I know the power of vibrational healing by combining physics and ancient healing arts to develop my own system that has amplified results with thousands of my clients and healing students. When you are ready to be able to transform your life and the lives of others, go to scientifichealer.com/energize me to discover more about my program for helping healers and coaches thrive and grow their business. Connect with me at scientifichealer.com/appointment to have a conversation about this. I've got space on my calendar just for you. Today, I am so very pleased to introduce to you Lea Bayles. She, like many people who have felt called to help others recover from the incurable, suffered her own night of the dark soul. This then woke her up to the extraordinary power of healing within. That led her to a 20-year career in holistic wellness. Lea blends a master's in psychology with extensive experience in education, spirituality, theater, energy medicine, mind-body healing, yoga, qigong, and expressive arts. And if you don't think any of those things are related, believe me, they really are. It's really a beautiful package. So like many of us in the healing space, she's mastered a number of highly effective skills. She is so passionate about spreading the word that she hosts the We Are More radio show and has various other interview series, meditation, wellness curricula, and written articles, and the book, Take Back Your Life, Moving from Chronic Pain to Lifelong Healing. And that will be in the show notes, so you can be sure to look that up. Lea offers group and VIP mentoring and select keynotes to lead those out of pain and into thriving. Welcome to the show, Lea. I'm so delighted to be having this conversation.
Thank you so much. What a joy to be here.
Yeah. So can you share with us the journey that brought you to where you are now?
Well, I actually trace it back to being a teenager, and I was fascinated from very early on with energy and consciousness, and had the wonderful experience of having high school teachers who were involved in the human potential movement very early. And my dad was a professor, and a lot of his friends were interested in consciousness and healing and some of that stuff back in the early 70s, really early on, in terms of mainstream awareness of it.
Yeah, that was almost nothing at that time. It was really hard to find information on it.
That's really true. Like when I first got interested in yoga, I just had to start learning it from books because I knew there were no teachers around. Now there are, teachers everywhere, which is fabulous. So yeah, I was really intrigued by that. And I had experiences as a child and a teenager in expanded consciousness, an out-of-body experience, dreams that were precognitive, knowing things we aren't supposed to know. So, that was in me from very early, and I was fascinated by it. And again, it's really the roots of what I do now as my We Are More radio show. We are more than this reality that we usually agree is it. We're more than these bodies, more than these roles, more than we think we are. We're able to expand continually to become more of who we really are. And I think we're especially called to that in this day and age. I think in an evolutionary way, we need it. We're called to it to become more. And your show sure helps people do that. You're expanding that consciousness of what healing is and what we're all about. So
not only that, the idea that we are more, it's that the science even shows that we are more, right?
Yes.
We know how to get from one dimension to another mathematically. We know that the way on the quantum level, how probability works, right? We know that to find something somewhere, it's a probability, it's never a certainty. And so we know that there's like a lot of really weird stuff that you would never have believed, and so science is now taking this look at it, and everybody is all in this 3D time world.
Yep.
Right? So this is really exciting that, so many of us, science and spirituality and, reality are finally coming together, and I'm very excited about this.
It's a very exciting time, and your show really brings that because you've got that scientific background
Mm-hmm.
and you can show that as well as your own deep experience with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a fabulous service that you're offering for this thing that's so needed today.
Yeah, we have 4 generations in our family that have had
Mm.
skills, so it was
Wow,
it was
that's
not new
great.
to me. I grew up with it.
That's great. Yeah, fabulous.
So,
Fabulous.
so what happened in your dark night of the soul? In your bio you mentioned you had an immune system crash. So what
Yeah.
happened and how did that change your life?
So in my early 30s, I had 3 young daughters, and I was in graduate school and doing my yoga teacher's apprenticeship and taking care of kids and,
Hmm.
other people's children as well, and volunteering. And, I was doing the supermom thing. I thought I could do everything and take care of everybody. And I had goals and dreams that I really wanted to accomplish. And I was really tired. And I kept pushing myself. I got kind of sick and I kept pushing myself. I got more and more tired and I pushed and pushed and pushed myself. And I sometimes would realize that I was wishing someone would tell me to slow down. And now, Anastasia, I realized someone was telling me to slow down. My body, my soul was telling me to slow down, and I wasn't listening. And so I pushed and I pushed until I had a real collapse.
Hmm.
I woke up in the middle of the night. My heart was going crazy. It was pounding and stopping and pounding and stopping. And, it was terrifying. And finally I went to sleep. And the next morning I couldn't move. I was absolutely exhausted. I felt like I'd just been run over by a big truck. And, it was terrifying. And everything stopped in my life. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Like so often happens, that big thing that shakes us up wakes us up. Because what
Hmm.
it woke me up to was the destructive patterns that I was following in my life. The way I was not listening to my body, the way I was
Hmm.
pushing myself. I was in that real yang mode because that's what I thought I needed to do to reach my goals, my dreams. That's what.
Right. And because a lot of us, I'm also in one of those, I
Mhm.
had a very similar experience.
Mhm.
And when you want to develop something, the yang world is the male world, the sequential, the tactics, the strategies, and all of that.
Mhm.
And you set out a goal for yourself. At least I did. I set out a goal for myself, and all I just did, oh, that's on the list. That gets done right now.
Yeah.
And instead of going, I really need to lay down and rest, or
Yes.
I really need a nap, or I really need to nourish myself well, or, just something like
Mhm.
that. And so it starts as a whisper. The tiredness is the
Mhm.
whisper, and then it just keeps getting louder and louder until somebody finally slaps you upside the head and says,
That's
"You
right.
gotta stop."
Can't move, gotta be here, gotta do something different. And, in that place, what I had the very strong knowing. So I had some diagnoses. At first, the doctors weren't sure I was going to live and, ruled
Mhm,
out some really terrifying,
mhm,
fatal things. But as
mhm,
soon as they ruled out the things that would kill me, I had this really strong inner knowing that my path was not to go from doctor to doctor to get fixed. It
mhm,
was to live my life and recreate my health from the inside out.
mhm,
And I had this vision of being completely depleted. I could see this big well, this reservoir of energy inside me, and there was almost nothing left, just a very few drops left in the
mhm,
very, very bottom. And I realized I needed to learn to live and to create and to work toward my goals in a way that didn't deplete that inner reserve, but that kept
mhm,
it replenished.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So very much what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I can completely identify with your story.
Mm,
I was also very stressed out from being married to an abusive alcoholic.
mm.
And so I had that on top of all my ambitions and taking care of children and a big household. And, there was no me in the equation. I
Yeah.
wasn't in there at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I know that there are a lot of listeners out there that have also experienced the same thing. And some of them are just going the conventional route, taking energy drinks and, taking pills and anti-anxiety medications and blood pressure medications and cholesterol medications and all of these things because their body is completely wiped out. And of course, none of those actually really help the real reason why you're there.
Yeah, and I think we all have our own path. I would never
Mhm.
say to someone, if you're feeling this way, don't go to a doctor.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
that yeah.
I had great doctors, and it
Mhm.
was through those doctors that I found the path. It was
Great.
through those doctors, right? And a lot of them
Bless them.
work integratively, a lot of them
Right.
work holistically. So, and they provide such an incredible, valuable service. And the thing that's really cool is when I was a professor at UW, I would teach physics to pre-meds.
Fabulous.
So
Yeah.
I got to see who they were before they got to med school.
Mm,
And these are the biggest
mm.
hearted, wonderful people you could imagine. They all wanted to make a difference in the world. Like
Yeah.
every single last one of them. I don't know how many hundreds of letters of recommendation I wrote, but
Mm.
I would get to know each one before I wrote the letter. And they are just really an amazing set of people. So, I want to develop something that we work in concert with them rather than
Absolutely.
against, right?
And actually, that's what my illness led me towards. So
Mm-hmm.
in my own healing process, I had
Mm-hmm.
wonderful, amazing teachers and healers from a variety of traditions that I worked with. And
Mm-hmm.
then in learning how to activate that healing power inside myself, I wanted to help other people do that. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
what's your process from taking in someone to helping them?
Well, for a while, what I was doing was working, like you said, in an integrative medicine clinic. So I was a mind body therapist there, and I was running pain groups, or groups for people with chronic pain and diabetes. I was the mind body facilitator, and I would work with the doctor. And my job, which was wonderful, was to provide things beyond medicine and surgery for those people with pain and diabetes
Mm-hmm.
and other chronic illnesses. So,
Mm-hmm.
just being able, like, one of my passions is how can I simplify the things I've learned from energy medicine, from mind body healing, to make them really, really applicable. So I did
Mm-hmm.
that for many years, and now I use those same skills, but I'm not really working with people with chronic pain so much, sometimes that, but
Mm-hmm.
more like I work with entrepreneurs and creatives and professionals to help them thrive in their bodies and their minds and their souls while they're pursuing their goals and their dreams. So they don't have to get burned out and depleted, and they don't have to push and struggle and do that kind of yanging it up, that just
Right. The left
forceful.
the left brain linear.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
getting stuck in the doing mode. So that, like, one of the big things is how do we access that being place
Right.
primarily, or we could call it the yin place, that inner quality. And so, the people now that I work with, a lot of men and women, more women than men, but men and women who, are successful, they've got big goals and dreams. And then there's that feeling of, like, either they've lost the joy of their life or they're having to push too much. People are like, I've lost my happy, I'm doing all this stuff and it's what I want, but I'm not feeling that sense of satisfaction, or I'm feeling depleted or running on empty. And so I think you had a question for that. You were asking me a question.
Well, yeah. So I know that entrepreneurs and high people that perform at a high level, they're very special. They're
Yes.
very different. Like, when people start a business, most of the people around them going, "You're crazy. Why don't you just go
Mm,
get a job?" Right?
right.
How you think you're going to make it work? So many businesses fail, and they just keep on you, and they don't have a great expectation of you or even themselves. And entrepreneurs just go ahead and do it anyway. And
Mm.
so I know. And then when they lose their joy because they get caught in this cycle and they create a new job out of, instead of a joy, they create a new job. And I understand. And to be functioning and joyful, that's where, because joy is one of the highest human expressions, right?
Yes, yes.
And so when they're in that joy place, that's when they can be their most productive and creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that admirable quality of like you wanting to achieve, you're moving, you're forward, you're doing
Mhm.
that. And yet so many entrepreneurs, I know even some really highly successful spiritual entrepreneurs who've had serious immune system crashes, serious adrenal failures, because we do get so caught up in that pushing, struggling mode. Like that's the way we need to succeed, is just work a little harder and do a little bit more. And
Right.
it's a very dangerous, toxic pattern that's very common in our culture.
Right. And I always tell myself and other people that we're human beings, not human doings.
Yes, it's so important to remember. So important. Yeah.
So what's a symptom that people come in with, and then what's a typical result when they work with you?
Mm. Well, one symptom is that feeling of just feeling frazzled. Like I love my life, I've got a lot going, but I feel frazzled and also kind of like resentful. I realize people will say, realize my fuse is kind of short. And even these things I love, I love this project I'm committed to. I love this mission. I love doing things for my family, but they feel it can be easy to feel resentful even of things we love, which is a
Mhm.
great sign. So always, and people are like, gosh, why do I feel resentful of this? It's like, that's a good thing. It's an indication. It's an invitation to take it a little deeper. It doesn't mean you have to give it all up, but to find a different way to be with it. Yeah.
Right. And a
So
lot of us that start our own businesses, we think we have to do it all, but we don't.
that's
And
right.
that's a really big one. When I hired a team to help me out, that made such a huge difference for
It's a
me.
huge thing. It really is a huge thing. And even
Mhm.
before we get to the place where we can hire much of a team, there may be little things we can outsource. And, one of the things I notice a lot with my clients is they'll realize they are terrible bosses to themselves. It's like, they'll be like,
If you
yeah,
had a boss like that, you'd leave the job in 2 seconds,
yeah,
right?
I'm the boss from hell and I'm the boss, and that could be quite a realization. I had a client a few months ago who realized that in one of our early sessions. And I said, so if you were working in a job and you had a boss who never gave you time off, who wanted to be on call all the time, or, this whole list of things, what would you do? She's like, oh, I'd quit. And so I'm like, okay, let's quit that. Let's
Let's quit
quit that
that. It's
and create a
awesome.
new job for yourself. Yeah,
Mhm,
let's let
mhm.
go. That's not your job anymore. It used to be. And what's your job description now? And how can you be the boss you would love to work for? How can you be the boss that you would do your best work for and create in a way that really is letting you be your best self and fulfill your purpose in the world?
So, and this is your typical result, that they come out from frazzled, they come out to being, you know, being fully embodied and happy.
Yeah, feeling great in their bodies, feeling that sense of joy. A lot, what I
Mhm.
hear over and over is, oh my gosh, I feel more like myself than I've ever felt in my life, or more like I've felt since I was a kid. Or, I don't ever remember feeling so much like myself and so much joy.
Mhm.
And then, of course, when we're in that place, like you said, when we're in that place of joy and peace and wholeness in ourselves, our work comes more easily, you
Oh
know?
my goodness, it makes all
Yeah.
the difference.
It makes all the difference.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing that happens is, because I can hear the other side, they're
Mm.
joyful on that side too, and they're always making jokes. Like,
Mm.
even when
Mhm.
somebody is
Mm.
about to die, I was working with somebody who was, right at the edge of dying, and he was too young to go. So I had to tell him to come back, and, I would heal him. So he was going, yeah, but that body's trashed and I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah,
And I'm going, we
yeah,
take this all so seriously, but when
yeah,
it's the spirit, like trying to figure out, is it going to stay or go? It goes out so casually.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and we take this all like so heavy and everything. But
Yes, I do believe that when we connect with the people we love who have left their bodies, the message they usually give us is have more fun, find the
yes,
joy in what you're doing. It's all about love and joy. And so we don't need to wait for that, or wait until we're like several of the people I've
I
deeply
love that.
loved and worked with, have experienced that right at the end of their life. They become softer, they become more open, they
Yes.
realize what really matters and what didn't matter. And we can all bring that into every moment of our life. We don't have to
I,
wait till we're
I
dying or
abs
have died. Yeah.
right. And I accompanied my mom in her last year. I was there almost every day, and
Mm.
I watched exactly that she
Mm.
became softer, and then she realized what was more important, that all those little things that she worried about all the time didn't matter. And
Right.
the other thing is that the first message she sent across after she passed, she said, I don't want you guys to mourn for me. I want you to go out and have the awesome lives that I taught you how to have.
Oh, what a beautiful message to get from your mother.
and then
So
and then we'd
amazing.
cry, and then I'd hear,
Mm.
enough crying now. Enough.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that when we're grieving for people who have gone, of course, we miss them in their physical bodies, and we miss them for a long
Absolutely.
time and over and over and over. And yet we're not really grieving for them. I mean, they are not they're in a great place there, and they
Oh,
are also still available to us.
they are. And what's
Mhm.
funny was that at her funeral, she started glowing brighter and brighter. My daughter is clairvoyant, so she could see it. She started glowing brighter and brighter. And then
Mhm.
she was bragging, look, I can do this and I can do that. And look how straight I am. And look how beautiful I am. And look, I can do this and I can do this. And you can't. Ha ha.
It had a sense of humor, definitely. Yeah. Well, when my dad died, I had been with him, and it was quite a moving experience. We'd had several days that were so powerful. And then in that morning, I had the really strong message, you need to go home and take a shower. I'm like, well, I could take a shower right here. I'm like, no, you need to go home and take a shower. So I got in the car, started driving away with my husband. He was like, well, I don't know. I just got that strong message. I think it was because he couldn't actually leave while I was there, which sometimes happens. But we're
Yes.
driving along, and all of a sudden, Anastasia, I heard him laugh, and I saw him as if he were 30 and perfectly in his prime and strong, and he threw his head back and was laughing and was so full of joy. And then a minute later got the phone call. That was like right when
Mm-hmm.
he passed.
Yeah,
And
and that's what happened with me, because I was
mm,
going over to my mom's every day, because I live very close to my parents' house,
mhm.
and I was going over there every day. And the one day I took off, she passed.
Yeah. And that happened with my first husband too. And he died of cancer, and I'd been with him, and he wanted me with him, but I left the room for a minute, and he left. And I think, there was a part of me I know was, even though I was consciously letting go and working to release, there was a part that was holding on. And I think a part of them that held on to me as well. So
Yes, it's
yeah.
true. It's true.
Mhm. Powerful.
So,
Whew,
so
powerful
right,
process.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's all part of our human experience,
Mhm.
and being in joy on this side is
Yeah.
as important as being in joy on the other side.
I'm so glad you understand, because there are people that I'll talk about the amazing experiences at death, and they'll be like, oh, wow, can we talk about an amazing experience about something else and not death? That's so sad and scary. But it isn't. It cracks us open to what's real and cracks us open to more love if we let it.
It
Yeah.
does. It really does. And I had a difficult relationship growing up with my mom. And as I accompanied her over the last few years, as I accompanied her, I was here a lot. I moved back to California just for this. And I'd spent
Mm.
like the 26 or 30 years away, and I moved back just to be here. And it was just like something, I quit my job and I just left. I just picked
Mm.
up and left. And the interesting thing was how that relationship became transformed from it,
Mhm.
and that I got to see who her true essence is, as the layers of BS got stripped off. Okay.
That's so my experience too.
Right. The layers get
Yeah.
stripped off and then you get to
Yeah.
see their beautiful essence. She was like an
Mhm.
angel. She
Yeah.
was this angelic being, the way she
Mhm.
talked and how loving she was. And I'm going,
Mhm.
wow, what a
Yeah.
different experience. And so this actually points out some of the healing that people really need to do to recover some of those traumatic experiences when they were younger, because that's what brought her to the place that she was and what created that.
Mhm.
So a lot of us have experienced trauma at some point. Even being told no when you're little and you want yes
Mhm.
can develop into an issue,
Right.
right? And so we need to turn around and look at certain events, like really powerful events in our life, with brand new eyes,
Yes. Yes.
with
Those
adult
eyes, the
of
soul,
adults,
and the
right?
soul eyes, the eyes that let us see the soul and that let us see the invitation
Hmm.
in all those,
Hmm.
the joys, the dreams, the desires, as well as the challenges and the things we call failures and heartbreaks.
Hmm.
Yeah. That they
And
all invite us to become more of who we really are.
yes, because if
Mhm.
something's not working, it's time to change the process.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
let's dive deeper into your process and how
Mhm.
listeners can benefit from it after the break.
Great.
I want to remind all of our listeners that you're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. Today, my very special guest is Lea Bayles. When we return after the break, we'll dive deeper into her process to show how you can thrive after a major life crash. You can actually do simple physical manipulations on yourself to change your mental, emotional state, release blocks, and even release things like pain in your body. And of course, the backup to all of these techniques, the backup is to work out also the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, and then relieve the physical. I have a process that does that. We go through one step at a time and clean up all of, so you didn't, whatever condition that you have, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical, whatever condition that you have, especially if it manifested in the physical, was usually years in the making. You didn't get it overnight, years in the making. One of the ways that I work is I find out when something got manifested in your body, like go back to that year and then rewrite the story, uncreate the story, redo the story. So it's as if it never happened. It's as if you imagine your life as a tree and here you are at birth, and each decision that you make will create a different branch, right? So you have all these branches of possibilities and you're ending up somewhere along the branch. And by doing energy work, it's as if you did not make that decision and instead you made a different decision and you end up on another branch. So that's the way I view energy healing with regards to whatever your life is now. And the great thing is that we are infinite beings of light, powerful beings of light, and we can change our history and we can rewrite things and we can create whatever life we want. And I'm ready to have a conversation with you if that's what you'd like to have in your life. Either learn it for yourself or to have me help you with it. So I have my contact information is scientifichealer.com/contact or scientifichealer.com/appointment. So you can either write me or have a conversation with me, and I always answer whatever queries come through. And I do it personally because I'm very interested in hearing what you would like to hear. Welcome back. You're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. If you are a healer or coach, you can discover which is the one thing you should pay attention to first to raise your frequency to get to the next level. To do that, go to scientifichealer.com/action and download the action guide for discovering your biggest challenge to success. Before the break, we were talking to Lea Bayles about getting and loving yourself to become well. Let's learn something you can do right away to get started. Welcome back, Lea. I'm so excited to talk about your process further.
Thank you. So great to be here.
Yeah, so a lot of times people are wondering like what's possible? Like how far can you come? So could you name like one of those really difficult cases? And we don't need to know any names, but like what
Mhm.
was before and what happened afterwards?
Well, kind of relating to what we were talking about, with simplicity. There's a woman I was thinking about who came to me. She had a very successful business. She was an artist and a business related to art and very successful. She had several degrees and she'd created lots of a wonderful, wonderful business. And she came to me and she's like, I don't even really like it anymore. I don't know why I'm doing it. And I keep pushing. And, it's just like not that fun. And she said, nothing's really wrong. My health is good. Everything's fine. But something really feels off. And, so this is a great example of someone who wasn't in huge crisis. It wasn't like something absolutely awful had happened. It wasn't like the world had fallen in on her. And yet there was that calling in her to do something different. And she knew she needed to. So we really very quickly, she realized that her whole life she'd been in that pushing and struggling mode, that like the way you get ahead is you push, like you and I were talking about earlier. You get ahead by pushing, you succeed by pushing. So she'd gotten through school by pushing. She'd gotten great grades. She'd gotten kudos in athletics. She had achieved, some awards in athletics. And everything she did was push, push, push. And she realized, this is all I know. This is the only way I know. But as we were talking, she realized she had this longing for something different. In our very first session, we're like, well, if things could be different, what would they be like? And we went into this, deep, not in the head process, but a body and soul process for what really is wanting to happen in your life. What would you like a year from now? And she had a very, very different vision. But it was just really a glimpse. It wasn't the full thing. It was a glimpse. But she realized that she was pushing in her workouts. She was pushing in her work. She was pushing with her family to make things right. And she was tired of it. And so just by being able to shift into a deeper place in her body, now she was an athlete, but she wasn't very connected with that deep inner flow of her body, and she'd never really that quality even of flowing and of moving from that inner more yin place had never really resonated. But all of a sudden she was feeling hungry for it. So we started talking about it, and she was hungry for it. So within a month, she had dropped out of this very aggressive, kind of masculine athletic program that she'd been in for 15 years. And she
Wow.
dropped out of that community, which was a big deal because it was a community that she got a lot of support from. And she was living in a very different way with herself. And
Mm.
after about a month, she said, I cannot believe how much I'm getting done with way less effort.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a mind shift. We were looking at what's the old story. The old story is I've got to push to succeed. I've got to push even though I'm tired. I've got to push and push. And the new story was if I connect with this inner power, if I connect with this inner sense of flow in
Mm-hmm.
the world and in myself, I can get more done with less effort. I can get more done with more ease. And her relationships started getting better. Her relationships with men got better, with her family of origin. It's just like, wow, everything felt like there was this kind of magic. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the magic of who she really was that was there that had been kind of pushed down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I completely can identify with exactly what you're saying, and I'm sure that there are a lot of women, especially, that can identify with this because we're
Mhm.
trying to succeed in a masculine-oriented world.
And there's a tyranny of that overdoing. And it's not that we have to give up our goals and our external, but first, if we find the being place,
Mm-hmm.
first, if we find that inner reserve of yin and, that inner replenishment, then the action naturally arises. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to push for it to happen. And we get the right action and we get the right ideas. What she said is, I'm doing less, but I'm making more from it because I'm listening from from that deep inner source place to what wants to happen, and I'm guided from
Mhm,
that
mhm.
inner
Really,
place.
really,
Yeah.
really fascinating. Yes,
Mm.
exactly. Exactly. I used to tell myself that resting and waiting were verbs, so I was doing
Mm.
something.
Good. That's a good way to make that shift. Yeah. And in fact, the most important, powerful thing we can do. Yeah. And men need it too. My husband's a professional photographer and as well as a fine arts photographer, commercial and fine arts. And he gets so much done and pushes so much. But boy, on the rare days when he takes what I call hammock time, he'll go sit in the hammock by the creek, or he'll go for, a wandering walk, or he'll just like do nothing. He gets these amazing ideas, these things come for his work from that place that synthesize things he wouldn't think of otherwise.
Yeah,
So,
that's
and
what I used my morning walks and runs. I used to run 6 miles before breakfast, and now I walk about 3, sometimes 5.
mhm.
And I like it solitary, although for a long time my husband and I did it together, but now he leaves the house very early. So,
Mm, yeah.
but those walks, I get things just start flowing, right? It's just like connecting to
Yeah.
source, let it come through. Exactly.
For me, walks are one of the most magical things. That's like one of my best forms of therapy and meditation is we're
Hmm.
walking, we're moving, and we're breathing, and we're in nature usually, and it really opens up that creative energy. So
Yes, and
very powerful.
there's also something with the way the biochemistry shifts,
Mhm.
that it's almost impossible to be depressed
Yes.
and upset and in motion.
Yeah. In fact, the studies show that exercise outside, doing those things outside, are more effective for depression and anxiety than any medications are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what are one or two tips to help someone get started on that path to recovery?
Well, the first thing I would say is to embrace every experience as an invitation.
Hmm.
It's like, and just turn, instead of like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, this is happening, or why did I create this? Why is this happening? It's like, what could I learn from this?
Hmm.
Even the unpleasant, like, embrace it as a learning opportunity and an invitation from your soul to grow into who you really are. So there's
Hmm.
nothing that's bad. It's all redirecting us or
Right.
inviting us. Yeah,
Right. It's a way to reframe everything that's happened to us.
it is. Yeah, it
Right.
really is. The bad things in our past and the things now, and we get to use them and be shaped by them. Yeah. So
Right.
say, oh, that's an attitude. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it was the way I looked at being married to my ex-husband. Gave
Mhm.
me 2 beautiful kids. He helped me along with my career. We had a lot of laughs together. We had a good time. And then the time was over.
Yeah.
And my because of the way what my nature was to try and make nice and to try and smooth everything out. I realized that it was counterproductive.
Mhm.
And so then when I started standing up for myself, I realized, wow, there's a lot of power in that. So standing up for yourself is a form of self-love. It's just
Mhm.
saying, here's the line, don't cross it. And
Yeah.
you can't take care of yourself and and take care of someone else and set boundaries at the same time.
Yeah. I think of that as like part of enlightened selfishness, the selfishness
Yes.
that helps us connect with what we really need to do and what really lights us up. And then we give more to the world.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. I was just
Mhm.
thinking that very same thing, that if we're depleted, we have nothing left to give.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
along with that, then a second thing I would say is take time every day for being. And where whatever it is you do, whether it's you sit out in nature, maybe it's just 10 minutes, but you take time to feel your body, to soften into yourself, to shift out of your head, into your heart, into your belly, into your beautiful, brilliant body wisdom, and just be with that, and sometimes that's uncomfortable for people at first, and they may need some guidance with it, but, just like that's where you replenish, that's where you heal, and that's also where you get the guidance for really what's next for you.
Yeah, I'm just smiling because I think when you watch, like I have 3 young grandchildren,
Mm.
and I love watching them because that's how they are. They do it naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every morning and every evening, because one of my grandsons lives with me, every morning and every evening I get into play with him,
Mm.
and that's like so much fun, and so it releases so much. And I just say I don't need to be doing anything else. This is important.
Uh-huh.
And so this morning we were playing hopscotch in the kitchen.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, play is so important. Like what can you do that just takes you into that play place where you really are just being? Yeah, that's
Right, and
fabulous.
he's a
Yeah.
total charmer. He's right at to the he's 2.5, and right at the point where he's like making these very complete sentences, and he's got this definite personality that pops out. And this morning, my daughter puts a bib on him, and he takes it off. He says, "Mama, I don't need this bib."
Oh, done with that one, Mama.
And he
Yeah.
takes it off, and I'm going like, and just last week he was like speaking in fragments, and now he's like done this complete sentence. It is just so much fun, right?
It is
So
so
I'm
much
like,
fun. I have 2 grandsons too. They don't live as close to me as yours do, but oh, it's just incredible. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
And
going to pass by your way on the way to visit the other two. They're in
oh,
Bothell, which is near Seattle.
oh, fabulous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
going up
Good.
starting tomorrow.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, good. Well, and then one more thing I would say with that is if people are making these changes, they feel something in them that is wanting to change, an
Mhm.
old story that's wanting to shift, some longing for becoming more, get support. Get
Mhm.
support not from the people who say, oh, everything's fine the way it is, or
Or what
the
do you have to complain about? Everything is
right.
great, right? You look
Or
great, you're healthy,
yeah,
you're making
yeah.
good money. No.
That's not the support you need when you're ready to make a change, nor is the support you need like, oh, yeah, I know it's so terrible. That place that keeps you stuck in that victim story. But support from other people like Anastasia, like my coaching, the people who are helping you grow into who you really are, whether it's peers or whether it's a coach or whether it's a group. We need support for being able to grow out of our old stories, out of those old patterns into a new, better way
Mhm.
of being. Yeah.
Yes, and a being that is more in alignment with your values. So,
Yes.
what you were
Yeah.
saying, when you have a longing or you have this little voice in your head, like when I was working at University of Washington, I was driving to work, and almost every day I just wanted to keep driving out of my life.
Wow. Whew.
Right. And
Yeah.
that was, and I knew that there was something that needed to change. And that's when I retired. Right.
Good for you. My gosh. And then you started a whole new life.
I did.
Yeah.
I
So
actually
cool.
flipped houses for 2 years and decided I didn't
Oh,
like that so much. And then I came back to Los Angeles and started working part-time at the university, and then developing into this healer. So it
wow.
was transitioning, right? But
Wow.
but yeah, so when you have that kind of thought that
Mhm.
something needs to change and that you're feeling trapped in your own life, the
Mhm.
life that you created, and you sit there and think, why did I create it? No, that's the wrong question. The
Yes.
right question is, how can I transform it?
Yes. What's
Right.
next? What's next? What's my next step? What's
And
wanting and longing to emerge and come forward?
right. And the reason
Yeah.
why you want a coach is that every coach has a bigger vision for you than you can possibly ever have for yourself,
Yeah.
because we've walked the path. You've walked the path, I've walked the path. We know what's possible. We know what kind
Mhm.
of shift. And then after seeing thousands of people shift,
Yeah.
right? And you know that the shift can happen rapidly, it can happen amazingly, and you come out the other side, and there's no dollar value for happiness and joy.
And for fulfilling who we really came here to be.
Hmm.
When
Well,
we step into that happiness
mhm.
and joy that we affect the world more, we help make the world a better place.
Well, the
Absolutely.
happiness and joy is a symptom
Mhm.
of you
Yes.
being in alignment with you, and you fulfilling your desires, you being happy, you getting to be who you're meant to be, right?
Absolutely. So well said. Yes.
Exactly. So,
Hmm.
what is your biggest challenge right now?
Well, interestingly, my body's always been a great teacher for me. So early on in my teenage years, I had all sorts of stress-related illnesses and brought
Mm-hmm.
me to meditation and yoga, and had the immune system collapse in my early 30s, and I've had Lyme's disease, and every time it's like, okay, I get to learn a new level of healing. And just in the last year, I've had some weird stuff going on with which I realize is like energy, but it's also sciatic. And rather than take that as, oh my gosh, I'm just getting older and I've got, these pains, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this? What do I need to shift? So I've been in real process with that lately, and was having had an interesting week last week at the ocean, where I'm walking on the ocean all the time and doing the work, and totally went away. And then I came home and came back. So I'm like, I'm listening. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I have absolute faith that it's going to lead me to a deeper knowing in my body and my soul. So,
Yes.
it's like continual. It's not like we, at least for me and everyone I know, we don't like get it once and it's all done. It's like, okay, what's the next level? How do I get to grow more into this and learn more with it?
Right.
And
I even hired a coach because I'm
then,
having a couple of little issues myself. And
interesting.
I said, whatever I learn from this gentleman, and I really love him, whatever I learn from this gentleman that I hired, I can pass this on because
Yes.
it'll be really invaluable. And I'm like you, I don't believe in aging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we should ever have to feel bad. I don't
Right.
think that we should ever have to take any medication, because the average, my being 65, the average number of prescriptions that people have in their medicine cabinets at this age is like 17.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. I hadn't heard it was that much. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there going, okay, so all these people are taking all these pills. How horrible
Mhm.
must they be feeling?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this leads to a spiral downward of desperation, because
It
because every medication's a poison.
Right. And it creates other problems. And
Yeah.
powerlessness, where we're
Mhm.
feeling like the power to heal us is outside in the medication, in the medical authority, rather than in ourselves. Now, I want to make sure if anyone's listening to this and you're feeling aches and pains or problems, there's no blame in this. There's no guilt.
Exactly.
And we really, most of what we call aging, most of the negative aspects of aging, I do believe are misuse of our body and misuse of our mind. And we have enormous power to be vibrant and healed and feel fabulous. And when we're not feeling fabulous, don't tell yourself, oh, it's because I'm getting older. Be curious, be lovingly curious, like,
I
what
love
is
that.
it I can do? But don't get into the trap of like feeling guilty because you're feeling those things.
Right.
That's not helpful.
Right.
But
And I always tell people who are on medication, let's you and I work together, and you're going to work with your doctor,
Mhm,
and you're going to have your doctor check you.
right.
And when it's time, if your blood pressure drops, reframe it. When your blood pressure drops and when your cholesterol goes down, your doctor will remove you off the medication.
Right. You don't want to get off of it quickly. You don't want to get it off of it without medical supervision. And I've also worked with patients and clients who, when they did need to take something and they were having a really hard time with it, we loved it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if for this time you do need to be taking that,
Mm-hmm.
love your medicine before you put it in your body. Love it. Thank it. Let it be an
Mm-hmm.
ally of your healing while you're taking it,
Mm-hmm.
rather than something that you're resisting. And that will help lower any side effects.
It
And then,
does.
yeah. And then,
Yeah,
like you're saying, you can move toward not needing it as much.
right. Well, my husband, when I met him, he was somebody I dated in high school, and then I didn't see him until 2013 again.
Wow.
So when I first saw him again, he was 80 pounds overweight and on 9 medications. And now he's lost those 80 pounds off again and is on no medications. And he had the classic aging
Mhm.
medications. He had blood pressure, cholesterol, pain, because he had arthritis all over his whole body.
Mm.
He was taking a diuretic. He was just like on, even his glaucoma medication is gone. Right.
That's
So,
so great.
right.
Yay.
And the cataracts have receded. Now he needs sunglasses outside again. So all of what people tell you aren't reversible, they really are. And,
Yes.
and I like to always give the cautionary tale is to always work in concert with somebody who can do lab tests. And
Good
make
idea.
sure, right?
Especially when you're on medications and you're trying to get off. Yes,
Exactly
absolutely.
right.
Really
And
important.
there are specialists out there that will help you get off of it.
Hmm.
Integrative medicine doctors and specialists that can
Right.
help you get off of it. I have a psychiatrist friend that gets people off their anti-anxieties by supplements.
Good.
And right.
Great.
So
Great.
we have a lot of resources at hand to find them. And if you live in the Los Angeles area, connect with me. I know a lot of them around here, and I have really good relationships with a lot of them out here, and I can recommend you people. Right,
Fabulous. Yeah.
right. So
And if you're in Oregon, in the
yes,
Willamette
to
Valley, connect
get a
with me.
hold of Leah, right?
Yes, I'll help you connect with fabulous integrative medical doctors. Yeah,
Awesome. So
yeah.
how can people get a hold of you? And tell me about, I'm thinking that 7-step or the 7 emails, because it'll help people
Oh,
get started.
right. That's one of my free offers. So if you go to leabayles.com/gifts, I have a number of giveaways, and one of those is it's a 7-step program to, let's see, let me find the name of it.
Right.
It's 7 strategies to transform stress into success that satisfies your soul. So the idea is
Beautiful.
stress itself isn't bad. It's like we actually can use stress to become more courageous, more creative, more
Hmm.
compassionate, but
Hmm.
it's how we work with the stress. So it's transforming what we call stress into energy that can help us be successful in the way that really satisfies our soul. So
Right. And
yeah,
there's also a
that's there.
big button on your front
On
page.
my homepage, yes, that
Right.
one's on my homepage, yes.
Right. So
Good,
it's Leah, Lea, Bayles, Bayles.com, and we'll have all that in the show notes so
fabulous,
people will know. So
great.
thank you so much, Leah. This has been a total delight having you on the show.
Thank you.
I'm like really thrilled. I can't wait for this to air.
Thank you. I love it. And I look forward to talking again. Bye. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for listening to Scientific Healing. And for our inspiring guest, Lea Bayles. To connect with her again, go to leabayles.com, LeaBayles.com. Let's you and I connect. Go to scientifichealer.com/energize me to discover more about a new, intimate, in-depth program designed to help you thrive as a healer or coach while building out your practice. When you're ready to learn more, I invite you into a conversation right now. I have reserved time for you on my calendar at scientifichealer.com/appointment. This is Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. Until next time.